The entire restaurant went silent in one heartbeat. Crystal glasses stopped clinking, forks froze in midair, even the soft piano music seemed to disappear. It was supposed to be a simple welcome dinner, but the air felt heavy, like something unseen had just stepped into the room. Lena stood near the entrance of the private dining hall, holding her order pad tightly against her chest. Her palms were damp. She had been working at the upscale Manhattan restaurant for almost 2 years. She was known for being polite, quiet, invisible. Tonight, invisibility felt safer than ever. "That's the CEO's father," her manager had warned her earlier. "Old school, traditional, very powerful. Do not make mistakes." Everyone knew the CEO, Marcus DeLuca, young billionaire, media favorite, ruthless in business, calm under pressure. But his father? People spoke about him in lower voices. They said he built everything from nothing. They said he came from Sicily with no English, no money, no help. They said he respected strength and tradition above all else. And tonight was his first visit to America in over 30 years. The entire top floor had been reserved. Security stood near the elevators. The chefs were rechecking every plate twice. Lena adjusted her apron and took a slow breath. "Just greet them politely and leave," another waitress whispered beside her. The elevator doors opened. First came Marcus, sharp suit, controlled smile, confident steps. He looked like someone who owned every room he entered. Behind him walked his father. Silver hair brushed neatly back, deep lines across his face like maps of struggle, eyes dark and steady. He didn't rush. He didn't need to. The room straightened instantly. Lena felt her heartbeat echo in her ears. She stepped forward. This was the moment. She could have said, "Good evening, sir." She could have bowed slightly and disappeared. But when she looked at the older man's face, something stirred inside her. It wasn't fear. It was memory. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind, stories told late at night in their small apartment, stories about a coastal Sicilian village, about fishermen, about olive trees, about loss, about a family that disappeared overnight. Lena didn't even realize she had taken another step closer. She looked directly at the elderly man, and softly, clearly, she said, "Buonasera, signori, benvenuto. Sogno contenta di vedervi." The Sicilian dialect rolled off her tongue naturally. Not textbook Italian, not rehearsed phrases, pure Sicilian. The effect was immediate. The father froze mid-step. Marcus stopped walking. The security guard stiffened. The entire table went silent. The older man's eyes widened slowly, not in anger, in disbelief. He stared at Lena as if she had just unlocked a door buried in time. Chi dicisti?" he asked carefully. The way he spoke was not polished English. It was heavy with accent, heavy with memory. Lena suddenly became aware of every pair of eyes on her. "I said, 'Good evening, sir. Welcome. I am happy to see you,'" she said softly but steadily. The father didn't move. He looked at Marcus briefly. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Marcus frowned slightly. "She greeted you, Dad." "In Sicilian," the father corrected slowly. Marcus turned toward Lena fully now, studying her. The manager took a step forward nervously. "I'm so sorry if there's been any misunderstanding." The old man raised his hand slightly. Silence. He stepped closer to Lena, not aggressively, carefully, as if approaching something fragile. "Cuti insegnao sta lingua?" he asked softly. Marcus translated automatically, though his eyes never left Lena. "He's asking, who taught you that language?" Lena's fingers tightened around her notepad. "My grandmother," she answered quietly. The father's expression shifted. Not suspicion, Recognition. "From where?" he asked quickly. "She was from Sicily," Lena replied. "That is obvious," he said gently, almost to himself. He leaned closer. "What village?" Lena hesitated for just 1 second. "Castellamare del Golfo," she said clearly. The words hit like thunder. The father stumbled backward slightly, gripping the back of his chair. Marcus rushed a step forward. "Dad?" But the old man didn't answer him. He was staring at Lena. Not at her uniform, at her face, searching it. "Madonna," he whispered under his breath. The room felt frozen in time. Guests exchanged confused looks. Waiters held trays without moving. Even the pianist stopped playing completely. The father slowly lowered himself into his chair, never breaking eye contact. "You speak like someone I knew," he murmured. Lena felt heat rise behind her eyes. "My grandmother taught me every night," she explained softly. "She said language carries the soul." The father closed his eyes briefly. "When I left that village," he said slowly, "I thought I left everything behind." Marcus looked stunned. He had never heard his father speak like this in public. Lena felt something deeper than nervousness now. Connection. Her grandmother used to speak about a boy from the village, a stubborn boy, protective, dreaming of leaving. She said he vanished with his family after trouble with powerful men. Lena's heart pounded harder. "I'm sorry if I overstepped," she added quickly. The father shook his head sharply. "No," he said firmly. "You did not overstep." He leaned forward slightly. "You brought something back." Marcus looked between them, confusion turning into curiosity. "Dad, what's happening?" he asked quietly. The father didn't answer immediately. Instead, he asked Lena one more question. "What was your grandmother's name?" Lena hesitated again, because suddenly this didn't feel like a normal dinner. It felt like history standing up from the past. "Rosa," she said softly. The father's breathing changed, slow, heavy, as if a weight had just landed on his chest. "Rosa," he repeated in a whisper. His eyes glistened. Marcus stared at him in disbelief. He had never seen his father emotional, not once. The powerful Sicilian patriarch trembling. The entire restaurant remained silent. And Lena realized something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. This was no longer just a greeting. It was the beginning of something none of them were prepared for. The silence did not break. It deepened. The private dining room, once prepared for business talk and celebration, now felt like a courtroom where the past itself was about to testify. The old man kept staring at Lena, not as a waitress, not as staff, but as a memory standing in front of him. "Sit," he said again, his voice stronger now. The manager rushed forward nervously. "Sir, she's assigned to serve—" "I said sit." No one argued again. Marcus pulled out a chair slightly. "It's okay," he told Lena quietly. Lena hesitated for a moment. She had never sat at a guest's table before, not in this restaurant, not in her life. Her heart pounded loudly in her chest. Slowly, she lowered herself onto the edge of the chair, hands folded tightly in her lap. The old man leaned forward, elbows on the table. "What did you say your grandmother's name was?" he asked again. "Rosa," Lena replied softly. The name seemed to echo in the room. Marcus looked at his father. "Dad?" The old man's jaw tightened. His eyes shimmered. "My sister's name was Rosa." A sharp breath escaped Lena's lips. Marcus went completely still. The staff near the door exchanged wide-eyed looks. The old man continued, his voice slower now, heavier. "She was younger than me," he said. "She used to follow me everywhere. She would greet my friends in that same soft way, with respect. His hands trembled slightly as he rested them on the table. "When trouble came to our village, everything changed." Marcus leaned forward. He had heard pieces of his father's immigration story before, but never details, never pain. "What kind of trouble?" Marcus asked carefully. The old man closed his eyes briefly. "Powerful men," he said quietly. "They wanted land, they wanted control. My father refused." His breathing grew heavier. "They burned fields, they made threats, they destroyed families who would not obey." Lena felt her throat tighten. "My grandmother told stories," she whispered. "She said one family disappeared overnight after refusing to sign papers." The old man opened his eyes sharply. "That was us." Marcus stared at him. "You never told me this." "I did not want you to grow up with fear," the father replied. He looked back at Lena. "My parents decided we would leave before something worse happened," he continued. "But there was not enough money for everyone." The words hung in the air. Lena's chest tightened. "They chose you," Marcus said slowly. The old man nodded once. "I was the eldest son. They believed I could send money back, bring them later." His lips trembled. "But we never went back." A tear rolled down his cheek. The entire room felt sacred. Lena's eyes filled with tears as well. "My grandmother said her family stayed behind because her father was sick," she whispered. "She said her brother cried when he left." The old man covered his mouth with his hand. "I did cry," he admitted openly. Marcus looked away, overwhelmed. "My parents promised we would return in 1 year," the father continued. "But 1 year became 2, 2 became 10, and pride," he swallowed hard, "pride became a wall." Lena leaned forward slightly. "My grandmother never spoke with anger," she said. "She always said her brother left to protect them." The father looked at her as if she had just lifted a burden from his shoulders. "She said that?" he asked softly. "Yes," Lena nodded. "She kept a small wooden box," Lena continued. "Inside was a photograph of a teenage boy standing by the sea." The old man's breathing stopped for a second. "He had serious eyes and stubborn hair," Lena added with a faint smile. Marcus slowly turned toward his father. "Dad?" The old man's voice cracked. "That was me." Silence swallowed the room again. The billionaire CEO's powerful father, the man who built empires, was now just a brother who had never stopped carrying guilt. Lena's hands trembled as she spoke again. "My grandmother kept that photo next to her bed until the day she died." The old man pressed his fingers against his eyes. "I searched," he whispered. "I sent letters, I asked travelers, but I was building a life from nothing. I convinced myself they were better without me." Marcus shook his head slowly. "You built everything for family," Marcus said, "and you lost them in the process." The father looked at his son. "I built it because of them," he corrected softly. Then he turned back to Lena. "Tell me about Rosa," he said gently. Lena wiped her tears. "She was strong," she began. "She raised 3 children alone after her husband passed away. She worked in a bakery during the day and sewed clothes at night." The father listened without blinking. "She never remarried," Lena continued. "She said her heart was already full." The old man's shoulder shook quietly. "I should have come back," he whispered. Lena reached across the table carefully and placed her hand over his. "You were a boy trying to survive," she said firmly. Marcus watched the scene, his eyes wet. For the first time in his life, the powerful businessman understood that the empire he inherited was built on sacrifice and loss. "Dad," Marcus said slowly, "you always told me strength is never showing weakness. The old man gave a sad smile. I was wrong. He looked at Lena again. You carry her voice, he said softly. When you greeted me, it felt like she walked into this room. Lena's tears flowed freely now. The staff standing by the door wiped their own eyes discreetly. The expensive chandeliers above them sparkled, but the real light in the room was something else. Reunion, forgiveness, closure. The old man straightened slowly in his chair. All these years I believed I had no one left from that life, he said. He squeezed Lena's hand gently. But you are here. Marcus inhaled deeply. What does this mean? He asked quietly. The father looked at Lena with steady eyes. It means, he said slowly, that blood does not disappear across oceans. Lena's heart pounded again, but this time, not from fear, from belonging. The dinner no longer felt like a business event. It felt like destiny unfolding in real time. The expensive wine remained untouched. The gourmet dishes sat cooling on silver plates. No one cared. At the center of the table sat a billionaire, his powerful father, and a shy waitress who had unknowingly reopened a door buried for decades. The old man still held Lena's hand, not loosely, firmly, as if afraid she might disappear like the past once did. For years, he began slowly, I told myself that survival was enough. I built companies. I built wealth. I built respect. He looked around the grand private room. But I did not build peace. Marcus lowered his eyes. The powerful CEO who negotiated billion-dollar deals suddenly looked like a child listening to a story he never knew he needed. Lena swallowed gently. My grandmother never hated you, she said softly. She said her brother carried the weight of the family. The old man's lips trembled again. I carried it wrong, he admitted. Marcus leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. Dad, why didn't you ever tell me about Aunt Rosa? The old man sighed deeply. Because I was ashamed. I promised to return strong and successful. Instead, I returned only in stories. Lena squeezed his hand gently. You returned tonight, she said, soft but strong. The words seemed to steady him. Marcus looked at Lena with new respect. You had no idea who he was when you greeted him, Marcus said. Lena shook her head shyly. I only saw an older man who reminded me of home, she said, honest. The father let out a soft breath that almost sounded like a broken laugh. All my life, people greet me because of money, he said. You greeted me because of memory. Silence settled again, but this time it was warm, not tense. The father slowly stood up from his chair. Every staff member stiffened again automatically. But his voice was calm. Everyone, he said, looking around the room. Tonight, this dinner changes. Marcus stood as well. This is no longer a corporate welcome, the father continued. This is family. Whispers moved through the room. Lena's eyes widened. I don't want to cause problems, she said quickly. You are not a problem, the father replied immediately. You are a gift. Marcus stepped closer to Lena. My father built everything from pain, he said quietly, and I built everything from ambition. But maybe we both forgot something. What? Lena asked softly. Roots, Marcus answered. The word felt powerful. The father nodded slowly. When I came to America, I worked in a factory, he began. I slept in a single room with 3 other men. I promised myself that my children would never feel small. Marcus looked at him with admiration. "But in protecting you from struggle," the father added, "I also protected you from history." Marcus inhaled deeply. "I thought success meant control," Marcus admitted. "I never thought it meant reconciliation." Lena watched both men, feeling something shift inside her. Her whole life she had felt invisible in big rooms, too quiet, too ordinary. But tonight, her voice had carried generations. The father turned toward her fully. "Do you know why your greeting froze this room?" he asked gently. Lena shook her head. "Because dialect is not language, it is belonging." Tears slipped down Lena's cheeks again. "My grandmother never to forget it," she whispered. "She was right," he replied firmly. Marcus looked around the room at the executives, investors, and high-profile guests who had witnessed everything. He raised his glass slowly. "To the woman who reminded us who we are," he said. Everyone stood. "To family," Marcus added. The father lifted his own glass with steady hands. "To Rosa," he said softly. The room echoed the toast. Lena covered her mouth, overwhelmed. After the guests slowly began leaving, Marcus approached Lena privately near the window overlooking the city skyline. "You know," he said quietly, "most people in this room fight for a seat at that table." Lena looked down at her uniform. "I was just doing my job," she said softly. Marcus shook his head. "No," he said. "You were honoring your grandmother." The father joined them slowly. His posture was still strong, but his eyes were softer now. "For years, I measured worth in money," he admitted. "I believed wealth erased pain. But tonight, a simple greeting did what millions of dollars never could." Lena looked up at him. "What did it do?" she asked gently. "It brought me home," he answered. The city lights shimmered behind them. Marcus folded his arms thoughtfully. "You know, you don't belong hidden behind service doors," he said to Lena. "You belong at the table where decisions are made." Lena's eyes widened. "I don't know anything about business," she said quickly. The father smiled faintly. "Business can be learned," he said. "Character cannot." Lena felt her heart swell. "For now," she said softly, "I just want to honor my grandmother's memory." The father nodded. "Then start by never hiding your voice," he replied. Marcus extended his hand toward her. "Would you consider meeting with us again?" he asked hopefully. "Not as service, but as family." Lena hesitated only for a second before nodding. "Yes," she said quietly. The father placed his hand over both of theirs. "Blood can cross oceans," he said slowly. "Time can test it," he said seriously. "But dignity keeps it alive." Lena walked out of the restaurant that night no longer feeling small. The same city lights shimmered, the same streets buzzed, but something inside her had shifted. She understood now. You never know which part of your identity will change someone's life. You never know which words will unlock a buried past. And you never know when a simple, respectful greeting can reunite a broken family and remind powerful men that true wealth is not money. It is memory. It is forgiveness. It is family.